What if you're not overthinking it? What if your family never respected you, not even once? Perhaps you just don't remember. Perhaps they didn't raise you, perhaps they just used you. This is a reality that many people are facing these days. As more and more people are waking up to toxic family dynamics, narcissistic abuse, growing up with narcissistic parents, we're starting to gain a collective awareness of the damage that is a consequence of these kind of parenting practices. What's worse is that often the people who are raised in these dynamics are then programmed to perpetuate dysfunctioning in their other connections and relationships, and so they normally end up being continually victimized or abused unless there is someone to stand in and intervene or teach them the skills and the awareness that they need in order to protect themselves, which is all too often not the case. And so I'd like to remind you, as you're in the process of reparenting yourselves, and if you're having any doubt or concerns, wonders about, if what's actually happening is actually happening, if you're second guessing your thoughts or your opinions, I'd like to remind you to take some time to just stop. Stop. Be with yourself. Because that tornado can come, that doubt, that is this really what happened? Did they really mean it? Were they intentional? Were they just doubting? Were they this consistently chasing is you doing emotional effort for someone who is responsible for their own feelings? This is the emotional codependency that you think you are responsible to save someone. The only thing that matters for you in this moment is how it is affecting you, how someone's actions and choices and behaviors have affected you. And you have the right to decide for yourself your emotional reality. And once you've established that emotional reality, that is the grounding by which you are able to act and behave more assertively, which is the theme of this week, communicating more assertively. But the first thing you have to do is stop the doubting, because when you've grown up in abuse, neglect, trauma, chaos, gaslighting, the first thing you have to do is come back to yourself, because that is the center, the grounding by which that you operate in this world. That is a center that tells you your needs, your desires, your boundaries, your fears. And all too often, growing up in these dysfunctional homes takes us away from that center, and that renders us unfunctional, unoptimal, suboptimal, I should say, in the real world. And that's why the first task is coming back to yourself and accepting the painful reality that maybe your family never saw you, maybe they never respected you, maybe they never loved you as you thought that they did. Maybe they weren't able to give you what you needed. Maybe they weren't able to take you seriously and to show you that you deserve the love, care, support, and presence that you do deserve. This is about taking a step back and centering yourself. It's about becoming aware of your own reality, defining your reality in a concrete, felt sense. And sometimes that means challenging and doubting the perceptions of others. All too often, that's exactly what it means. And you can't be afraid to do that. You must have the faith in yourself to establish your own reality, because that is the beginning point of your life. This is the beginning point of your joy. Is your self-definition, your identity. What things make you happy, what things you want to pursue, what things you want to avoid, why, and for what reasons. What kind of people do you enjoy being around? What do you want to learn in this life? What do you want to achieve? What is your criteria for success? All these things are your prerogative. And if you grew up in a toxic family, you might not understand that. You might not have gotten the grasp. So let's just be blunt. The result of your upbringing is that you've wanted to, or you haven't really wanted to exist for yourself. That's a deep thing. So let's take a time to reflect on that. If you grew up in this dysfunctional, chaotic, toxic environment where perhaps you were parentified, you suffered emotional incest or emotional abuse, you may have never experienced the desire to live for yourself. That's really profound. You've never lived for your own pleasure, for your own benefit, for your own goals. And after a lifetime of this kind of patterning and conditioning, it's hard to break away. And that's why you might have tended to fall into people-pleasing patterns or tendencies. And nevertheless, as we come awake and become aware of the truth, it's then possible to go back towards ourselves, which is the most important. Going back to yourself. You're not overreacting, you're finally seeing reality as it is. The truth is that you might never have been raised to appreciate yourself and your own individuality. You might have never even been seen for who you truly are, your gifts, your value. Maybe even people try to dissuade you from seeing that. But the reality is that you deserve to see yourself in a great light. You deserve a positive self-image. You deserve a powerful and empowering and encouraging and motivating self-image, because you have so much to give the world. Every person on earth has a beautiful gift to give the world. That's the starting point. Every person has a gift to give the world. Every person also wants love and respect on this earth. Every person wants to fulfill their happiness and to feel positive emotions. These are things that you can learn as you as you begin to improve your understanding of psychology, social connections, relationships, family, friendships, human life and interaction. It's something that is so simple that we should have learned from our families of origin, but was missing. And the thing is that now we have the ability to go back and to fix that and to address that. And so it's important to understand that when you're holding on to your reality and grounding in that, you know, if you never receive respect, you might not be sure what that looks like. So you have to re-educate yourself. You have to give yourself a new understanding. Look for mentors, look for examples written in video form, in spoken form, in real life. Observe these people, do some people watching. You have to really start from the ground up, maybe even start with Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature. This will really give you a grounding for understanding there's so much more to learn, as you will see on the podcast. But as a grounding for the basis of the understanding of human nature, if you were raised in such neglect and deprivation, from your parents and family, and then social deprivation because perhaps you were not allowed to make friends, there's a lot that you are missing, a lot. And so starting with the foundations of the laws of human nature, the basics of psychology and human behavior and social psychology, and working your way up, this is really going to give you a grounding. And people say don't get lost in the intellectualization of this process, because it's definitely not an intellectual process, it's a felt body process, but you also need to improve your worldview and understanding of how life really is, because we've been raised in a bubble, in a cage. You're missing a lot of knowledge because you did not have the guidance and nurturing that you really needed. And so while this is not an intellectual process, this is a body felt process, you must also improve your understanding of how the world actually works. All of this takes so much time, and this is all bringing us again back to the point of maybe your family never really respected you because they didn't even know you. And if your family didn't know you, then you will have difficulty knowing yourself. And if you don't know yourself, then you cannot project yourself. And if you're not able to project yourself, then other people will not know you. And then the whole circle is just spiraling out of control. And so the first step is just to be honest with yourself and to realize where you are. To cut down the gaslighting and release the self-doubt. To accept your experiences as they are without doing too much extra emotional effort. To understand why your mother is this way and why your father might have treated her that way. It's not your job. They're adults. Their job is to teach you, to guide you, to nurture you, to support you, to give you that support, emotional, psychological. They are responsible to give you that understanding, and they have failed at that. Do not internalize that as your fault. It is something you've experienced, but it's not who you are. You are even greater. Not because you experienced it, because you now have the courage to face it. That is where you draw your strength from, your willingness to face it, because so many people are not, including your parents. This is building you. This proves your self-worth, your value, the fight that you have in you, the amount of self-love that you have for yourself to keep fighting, because you know that this is not it. This is not where you stay for the rest of your life, continuing these cycles. You know that you deserve more, and you know that you can achieve more importantly. And so as we come for a close today on this topic, having not been seen by your family and having to go through that understanding of this is what happened, to accept that, to then start to ground yourself in your own reality, by which that you can make more effective decisions in life, more effective choices that support who you truly are and where you want to go, then you're able to share that with others in a real way. So you're no longer chasing these fake connections. Life is blossoming into something more organic, where your authentic energy is flowing through. And so I'd like to just thank you for being here today, for listening to this chat on reparenting. I hope that you found some encouragement here, because it's a really overwhelming process. I know I've seen many people in it. I'm going through it myself. But you can come home to yourself. Despite the challenges that you might have faced so far, your time is not out. And you have the capacity to go back to yourself and to receive and to experience everything that you would love to. It's your life and you create it. Go ahead and give us a like, share, and subscribe. Go ahead and share this episode and this podcast also to any friends who you think might find it beneficial. Again, we have a daily podcast, so my goal here is to create a consistent aid for people to establish a reparenting routine. So, there's a simple reading, a discussion of their reading, and a meditation. And it's a daily podcast. We're on episode 450 today, 451, I think. And so, we've been here for a while. And the goal is just really to help people have support that's consistent presence. Consistency is one of the most important things in reparenting. It takes daily effort. It's not, maybe you can do one time a week, I don't know. It depends on where you are at. But for me personally, it's every single day for over 451 days. That's just when I've been doing the podcast. But I've started my journey in about 2000 maybe 22 or so. And from then I realized that this is really a consistent practice, like nurturing the bonsai tree. You will see the bonsai tree up there. And it just takes patience and dedication and consistency. And so you have to give yourself that time, because you deserve it. Your inner child deserves it. And to be honest, this podcast of 15 to 30 minutes normally per episode is good. It's great. It's a great start. That's why I've created it, for people who are in the very beginning of their journey, who don't know where they're going, where they're at, how to orient themselves. That's the point of this podcast. But it requires so much more. I'm not saying that the podcast doesn't have value, because it's tremendous value, because this is the phase that I was obsessed and stuck in intellectualization for so long. And so my goal was then to kind of organize this in a way that I could help other people who are in this beginning phase. Maybe they can, this podcast can help them process or make their way through this beginning phase of the journey more easily or more effectively, with some more grounding and support and routine. That's the goal, because I understand that this is not where you stay. I'm now going into the body felt stuff, and I'll be sharing some more of that also with you guys. But I really want to, in the beginning, at least help people who are in the start of their journey. And I think my podcast, or I know my podcast, is an excellent aid for that. It's been so helpful for me and so many other people. So I hope you enjoy, and I hope to see you again. Take care.